I'm Logan Crawford, and right now on the Spotlight Network, we're diving into the art of spiritual alignment and intentional living with a terrific author. Her name is Zakiya Holman, and she has penned a powerful book. It is called Streamline, Having the Audacity to Simplify Life's Journey. This transformational guide leads readers along 5 sacred trails: depth, breadth, discernment, simplicity, and beauty, each offering powerful lessons in personal growth, emotional clarity, and divine purpose. We're delighted to have this very talented author join us here today on Spotlight, and we ask viewers like you to support authors like her by subscribing to our channel and by purchasing her powerful book. The links are below this interview. And be sure to download the Spotlight Network TV app, streaming on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire TV. Zakiya, thank you so much for joining us here today on Spotlight.
Amazing morning. The pleasure is all mine. I'm so happy to be here with you this morning.
I'm so happy to have you on the show and all your wonderful energy. Talk to us a little bit about what it means to streamline your life. Streamline your what life?
Absolutely. So, streamline in the context of my book really just means intentional living. And it's about navigating life's undulating terrain in a more efficient, effective, and impactful way by employing the spiritual practice of simplicity. So, in the book, I talk a little bit about life congruence and enrichment too, as like core components of that. But streamlining really is about intentional living.
Yeah, absolutely. And tell us a little bit about the 5 sacred trails that you use to structure your book.
Yeah, so when I thought about, so backing up a little bit, I started to pen the book while I was working in a local education agency. And at the time, I was a bit, I would say, dissatisfied with the environment. And so I really needed to shift the way that I was thinking, my thought process, in order to continue to move me towards purpose, but then to find an environment that really spoke to me where I can be in my zone of genius. I love working with children who are neurodivergent. And so that's what I've done all my life. So when you talk about the 5 sacred trails, I really was pulling from various experiences along my work history and just life paths that I had to go through. And how was I going to shift this sort of space that I was in where I felt like I was living a life of diminishing returns and move into a streamlined path. And so that's what those 5 trails are. They're taking you along the journey and the thought process that I was going through in order to kind of find more meaning and make life a little bit more simplistic.
Yeah. Talk to us a little bit about the trail of discernment and what it means in today's chaotic world.
Absolutely. And so I believe like I think Emerson talked about every thought or thought being the ancestor of our actions. And so when we talk about discernment, I'm really talking about sitting still and seeking clarity and making decisions from more of a spiritual based decision making model instead of an ego based one. And so to have discernment and to be clear about things really takes a bit of vulnerability. Like you have to get into this space um, of recognizing that you don't always have all the answers, but you can pair with the one who does, right? And then you can take on that discernment. And so I like to talk about pairing with pre-intention and being able to actually get into a space where you can align with greater power and greater presence so that you can discern what's going on around you.
Absolutely. Let's talk a little bit about false narratives and how they get in the way of our divine purpose.
Absolutely. And so one of just to be, I like to have a heart to heart and just be a little bit transparent here. One of the false narratives that I dealt with because of an adverse childhood experience, I started to believe that in order to remain safe, that I would kind of have to shrink, right? And so that was a false narrative. But what I'm learning more now is that I have to scale vulnerability, right? And I have to do these things like I'm doing with you right here.
Mm.
I consider myself a writer, not a speaker. And but I have to like go into those places of vulnerability and say, hey, this is possible for me too. And it's possible for our listeners. We all have purpose in our lives. And if we can go beyond vulnerability, beyond that point of being fearful, even though we're not in any present danger, then we can scale our purpose. And that's what I'm here for. And that's what I hope listeners take away.
Absolutely. What role does spiritual alignment play in personal success?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say in personal success, it alignment plays the role of having me look at three crucial things. What are my values? I call them VIPs. I believe we're all VIPs, but not just very important people, but what are our values? What's our core identity
Mhm.
and what is our purpose? And if we can get real clear about those three things, and come into agreement or an alignment or incongruence with those things, it just helps us to orient to what really matters in our life.
Mm.
There is so much going on. There are so many reasons that people can legitimately be afraid or hopeless or all of these emotions that feel kind of raw. But
Mm.
if we streamline to what's my value, my core identity and my core purpose, I think we can like declutter a lot of that
Mm.
and like, just take some of that noise and push it out so that we're streamlined into to our lives.
Absolutely. Great advice. Let's talk about somebody out there who might be watching, who's struggling a little bit, is wondering what steps they can take to begin streamlining today. How would you say someone should start? Obviously, by the book, because that's your guide, and that's important. So it's
Awesome.
more than just a plug. This will give you a blueprint, a roadmap on how to streamline your life. But outside of your book, just right now, why don't you tell us how somebody can begin?
Yeah. So thank you for mentioning the book. That is a big piece of it. But then beyond the book, I've created like this 5 point protocol called the Stream Protocol.
Mhm.
And and each of those letters stands for something, right? But I like to go to the E. And the E in the Stream Protocol stands for enrichment. And
Mhm.
so enrichment, I like to think of all life circumstances, everything that we go through. And this is what I would like to give to people to just kind of ponder. It helped me tremendously to start to shift my way of thinking. When I start to think of all life experiences, including the recent death of my parent, my
Mhm.
dad, who has dementia now, and so many other things in my personal life, every day I get up, I say enrichment. This is an enrichment experience. It is meant to provide greater depth, breadth, and beauty in my life. And that's painful as some of the things that I'm going through personally, and people that I know and love are going through personally, with elderly parents being part of that sandwich generation. There are two things: the experiences that we go through, and then the way in which we internalize or interpret the experience.
Mhm.
And so, enrichment has helped me to interpret experiences through the lens of those five trails and through the lens of it providing greater depth, breadth, and beauty.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about faith and the role it plays throughout Streamline.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, I would say faith is the foundation to this all. Um, Not even from a religious standpoint, but just from the standpoint of belief. What is your belief in your ability to bounce, not just back, but bounce forward, right? I've been doing a lot of reading about post traumatic growth. We have the potential and the ability to take situations that have been quite traumatic and grow from them. And so faith allows us to go beyond the scene into the unseen, knowing that we have favor.
Mm.
Like someone is watching out for
Yeah.
us, for the lonely, for the disheartened, for the brokenhearted. Like there's someone watching out for you. Just believe that,
Yeah.
on a deep level, and watch what that does for you. I like to call it the comforter or pre-intention. But whatever the name is you choose to give to
Mm.
this nurturing spirit that's around us, we must know that we have favor and we are being looked, taken care of. But that takes faith. That takes
Mm.
faith because sometimes it doesn't necessarily feel like that. Every moment may not be a highlight, but if we frame it or reframe it in a different way and know that faith is our foundation, we can make it.
Yeah. And just knowing that there's a loving God there who's watching over us, and we may not understand all of his plans for us, but that there is a bigger purpose, there is a bigger picture, there is eternity. That's just comforting.
It
Um,
is so comforting. Absolutely.
yeah. Tell us a little bit about your writing career. Is this your first book or more planned? What was it like writing this book? Tell us a little bit about that part.
Sure, sure. It's my first book actually, but I knew as a child that I wanted to write. My mom would enter me into different contests when I was younger. I just always felt like it was the closest expression to God for me, a way that I felt closer and very much connected to Source. And so it's my first book. The process was like I didn't have an outline or anything of that
Mhm.
nature. I just kind of wrote here and there, whatever kind of flowed through me at the moment in time. And so I look forward to writing more. It again, like you mentioned, like those diminishing thoughts that I had
Mhm.
to kind of overcome while writing it, like because they're the thoughts of maybe this is not going to be good enough. Maybe it's not going to serve the people that you intend. All these thoughts. But when I took myself out of the way and just said, Lord, have your way,
Mhm.
the book was able to come into fruition. And it had been in me for quite some time. So I'm so thankful that it's out.
Wonderful. Those voices you hear that you can't do it, you're not good enough, what makes yours different, it's not going to go anywhere. That's just anxiety. Everybody has that, whether you're going for a job, whether you're starting a new relationship, whether you're writing a book, whether you have any kind of dream. You have to push that out and
So
realize
true.
that is just anxiety talking, and you've got to pursue your dream. And everybody who's done anything from inventing an electric car to writing a wonderful book like this has had those same thoughts and feelings, those same doubts and fears. But like you said, realize you're part of the bigger picture, become an instrument of God's love, and write a terrific book like this, or whatever your dream is. That's my best advice today. This book is wonderful, folks. It is called Streamline, Having the Audacity to Simplify Life's Journey. It is a powerful call to pause, reflect, and realign your path. Zakiya, thank you so much for joining me here today on Spotlight.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I appreciate your insight and your wisdom. To the folks at home, I'm Logan Crawford, thanking you for your time this time until next time on Spotlight.